understand.
I speak your language.
Imagine you're told to leave everything you've ever known, your home, your family's traditions, your sacred lands, and walk hundreds of miles to a place where you're treated like you don't belong. That's not a movie plot. That's the story of the Navajo Nation, the Dine, one of the most resilient peoples in history. And here's the wild part: despite every attempt to erase them, they're not just surviving, they're thriving, with a culture so vibrant it's shaping the world today. Want to know how they did it? Stick with me, because this story is going to blow your mind. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm obsessed with uncovering stories that don't get enough love, especially the ones that show the strength of the human spirit. Today, we're diving into the epic history of the Navajo Nation, the Dine, a people who faced unimaginable challenges and come out stronger every time. From their sacred origins to their game-changing role in World War II, this is a story of resilience, ingenuity, and pride. And trust me, by the end, you're going to see the Dine in a whole new light. So grab a snack, hit that like button to keep the algorithm happy, and let's jump in. Oh, and comment below, what's one culture you think deserves more spotlight? I'm curious. The Dine beginnings, a story of creation. Let's start at the very beginning, not with dates and maps, but with a story that's been passed down for generations. The Dine believe they didn't just appear on Earth, they journeyed here through 3 underground worlds. Picture this: worlds of black, blue, and yellow, each one teaching them lessons about balance, survival, and harmony. Then, they emerged into this world, the glittering world, right in the La Plata Mountains of Colorado. How cool is that? It's like their origin story is a cosmic adventure. Now, historians tell us the Dine are part of the Athabaskan people, who migrated from Western Canada around 1300 CE. That's when some of these groups settled in the southwest, becoming the Navajo and Apache tribes. But for the Dine, their homeland isn't just land, it's sacred. They talk about four sacred mountains: Blanca Peak, Hesperus Peak, Mount Taylor, and the San Francisco Peaks. These aren't just pretty views, they're like spiritual anchors, holding the Dine world together. And get this, they believe for rivers, like the San Juan, act as gatekeepers, protecting their homeland. Here's a question for you: if you had to pick a place that feels sacred to you, where would it be? Maybe a mountain, a beach, or even your grandma's backyard. Drop it in the comments, I'd love to hear your story. Adapting and thriving, the Dine way. So, the Dine settle in the southwest, in what's now Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Utah and Colorado. But they didn't just survive, they thrived by being insanely adaptable. In the 1600s, they met the Pueblo people, who were like the OGs of the Southwest. The Pueblos had been farming and building epic villages for centuries. And the Dine? They were like, teach us everything. They learned how to farm corn, beans, and squash, and they took it to the next level. Then, when the Spanish showed up in the 1600s, things got messy. The Spanish brought sheep, goats, and horses, and the Dine were like, bet, we'll take those. They became master herders and horsemen, using horses to travel faster, hunt better, and even fight when they had to. But it wasn't just about survival. The Dine turned these new skills into art. They learned weaving from the Pueblos and started making rugs so intricate they're now collector's items. And silver jewelry? They picked that up from Mexican blacksmiths and made it their own, creating pieces that are still iconic today. Let's pause for a sec. Isn't it wild how the Dine took every challenge and turned it into something beautiful? Think about your own life. Have you ever taken something tough and made it into a strength? Comment below, because I know you've got a story like that. The Long Walk, a heartbreaking chapter. Now, this is where the story gets heavy, and I need you to stick with me. By the 1800s, the Dine were a powerhouse in the Southwest, with a population bigger than most tribes. But then the United States started expanding west, and they saw the Dine as a problem. Enter the Long Walk of 1864, one of the darkest moments in Dine history. The U.S. Army, led by a guy named Kit Carson, decided to force the Dine out of their homeland. They burned their crops, killed their livestock, and rounded up thousands of people, of men, women, kids, elders. They were forced to walk over 300 miles to a place called Fort Sumner in New Mexico, a so-called reservation that was more like a prison camp. Hundreds died along the way from starvation, exhaustion, or disease. And at Fort Sumner? The conditions were horrific: barely any food, contaminated water, and no freedom. But here's what gets me: even in that darkness, the Dine held on to their identity. They sang their songs, told their stories, and kept their language alive. After 4 years of this nightmare, they negotiated a treaty in 1868 and were allowed to return home. That's resilience. That's the Dine spirit. I want to know, what's something you or your family have overcome that makes you proud? Share it in the comments, because stories like these inspire all of us. Rising again, the Dine come home. When the Dine returned to their homeland, they didn't just rebuild, they expanded. The Navajo Nation grew to 27,000 square miles, the largest Native American reservation in the US today. That's bigger than some entire countries. They kept herding, weaving, and creating, but they also faced new challenges, like American policies trying to erase their culture through boarding schools. Yet, the Dine kept their language and traditions alive. Over 97% of Navajo adults still speak Dine Bizard, their native language. Compare that to how many of us struggle to keep up with Duolingo for a month. Their commitment to culture is next level. And they didn't stop there, they started influencing the world around them. Let's talk about something mind-blowing. Navajo weaving isn't just art, it's a story. Every pattern, every color, tells a piece of Dine history. If you could weave your life story into a rug, what would it look like? Drop a description in the comments, I'm dying to know. The Code Talkers, heroes of World War II. Fast forward to World War II, and the Dine step onto the global stage in a way that changes history. Meet the Navajo Code Talkers. These were Dine men who used their native language to create an unbreakable code for the US Marines. The Japanese could crack every other code, but Dine Bizard? Not a chance. At the Battle of Iwo Jima, 6 Navajo Code Talkers sent over 800 messages in 2 days, without a single error. Major Howard Connor, a US officer, said, "Without the Navajos, we wouldn't have taken Iwo Jima." That's how clutch they were. These guys were sending attack coordinates and saving lives, all while the US government had spent decades trying to wipe out their language. Talk about poetic justice. Here's a bold statement: the Navajo Code Talkers are some of the most underrated heroes in history. Do you agree? Or is there another unsung hero you think deserves more love? Hit the comments and let's debate. The Dine today, a living legacy. Today, the Navajo Nation is a force. With over 300,000 members, they're one of the largest Native American tribes in the US. They've got their own government, schools, and even a college, Dine College, the first tribally controlled college in the country. They're leading in renewable energy, with solar and wind projects, and their artists, like R.C. Gorman, are world famous. But it's not all rosy. The Dine still face challenges like poverty, healthcare disparities, and the legacy of colonialism. Yet, they're fighting back. Young Dine activists are using platforms like TikTok to teach their language and culture, racking up millions of views. It's like the long walk never broke their spirit, it made them stronger. Let's make this personal. What's one way you've seen a community rise above challenges? Maybe it's your hometown, your family, or even a fandom. Share it below, because these stories matter. Here's the thing about the Dine: their story isn't just history, it's a mirror. They've shown us what it means to hold on to who you are, no matter what the world throws at you. In a time when we're all trying to figure out our identity, whether it's through culture, family, or just surviving 2025's chaos, the Dine remind us that resilience isn't about avoiding pain. It's about carrying your roots with you, even when the ground shakes. I got chills researching this, because the Dine aren't just a tribe, they're proof that no one can take your story away unless you let them. What's the one piece of your story you'll never let go of? Drop it in the comments, and let's honor that strength together. What an incredible journey! The Dine's story of resilience is truly inspiring, and if it hit you as hard as it hit me, let's spread their legacy. Smash that like button to show some love for the Navajo Nation, and share this video with someone who needs a dose of inspiration, maybe a friend, family member, or anyone who'd vibe with this epic tale. Let's get their story trending. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss our weekly dives into powerful stories like this one. Before you head out, drop a comment below. What's one thing you learned about the Dain that absolutely blew your mind? Was it their unbreakable spirit during a long walk, the genius of the code talkers, or something else? I'm reading every single comment, so let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, you absolute legends. See you in the next video.